Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Hey, did you remember? Because I just remembered. Did you take that Gatorade out of the freezer for Rami?
No, I didn't.
Can you do that now before we forget and we get yelled at tomorrow?
I'll be right back.
Rami asked me to do it. I was like, yeah, we'll do it. And we were doing our show prep meeting, me and Charlie, and Charlie starts laughing. He's like, I'm guessing. Oh yeah, it's probably there. I'm like, see, Charlie. He's old too, just like me. We forget stuff. I am the king of putting a soda or a water, whatever I may be drinking that day, into the freezer and then completely forgetting about it and then having to put it outside into thought. So yeah, well, welcome to the life of getting old. That's all part of it. And just wait, because Rami's going to have a baby coming up here in November. And then you get what they call daddy brain or whatever. And then you really start forgetting things. So if you're thinking, man, I'm old, you get old and have a baby, then you really have a double jinx on your hands at that point. Coming up on the show today, guest-free show. I didn't reach out to anybody to try to get anybody on. Nothing like that. Had no interest. We had Eric Name on yesterday. We had Sam Dykstra on yesterday. Both very good interviews. Go back, check those out, wisportsradio.com, or just search for us wherever you download your favorite podcast at Wisconsin Sports Daily, or best Brewers coverage, or best Packers coverage. All those podcasts will come up wherever you search for your favorite podcast at, or best Bucks coverage, that too. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk Brewers. We're going to talk Bucks. We're going to talk NIL craziness that is happening, that we'll see how Wisconsin decides to handle what's going on around the rest of the country. Green and Gold update at 4 o'clock as well. People talking about World Cup games being rigged, which I think is going to lead to a very, very fun topic that I think we're all going to have a lot of fun with, I think. And we'll do that at 3:20. But we're going to start off with the Brewers. And before we get to the actual topic, I want to just play some of last night, if you don't mind. So game one ends. We're on the air. We saw game one end. Mizorowski gives up a couple long balls. But other than that, was Mizorowski, right? Looked great. They won by the same score they won by the previous day against the Cardinals, 4-3. And you're like, okay, here we go. And I heard Tim and Tommy both on the air talking about, hey, man, if they figure out how to win tonight, you gain a full game, even if you lose the next 2 days. Even if you lose on Wednesday and Thursday, you gained a full game at the end of the day. You know what I just realized?
What's that?
Up until this very moment, I thought today was Tuesday.
It's on the...
When I just literally thought of the doubleheader was Tuesday, and I was like, holy crap, today is Wednesday.
When you nailed it on Monday, and we were like, wow, he's back in the game, he's ready to go, and you said that's the only day of the week that you're going to get right, you were not.
But I didn't say it wrong when I just said Brewers today and tomorrow. So anyways, either way. So my point is that they come into last night's game, and it's looking like it's going to be a struggle a little bit offensively yet again. But the story last night was those guys that you probably expected nothing from going into the game. I'm not including Christian Yelich in this conversation. But the other guys that you didn't expect anything from, right? Luis Lara gets a start. Where'd he bat him?
Number 2. I was surprised.
I was so excited.
He proved Pat right, though. It was a good spot to put him in. He looked fast.
Beautiful.
Really fast. He gets a hit in his first game, a couple RBIs. You got to be happy.
I was so happy when I saw him at 2 in the lineup. I'm like, there you go, Pat. There you go. That's what we want.
Ground ball right side, base hit. 1 run scores. Here comes Pratt. The throw goes to third. It is late. Lara takes second. First big league knock for Luis Lara, and he drives in a pair.
And how about later on, he goes from first to home on that Terang double. And you watch the video afterwards from there are a couple different angle videos. You watch it and you're like, oh man, is he fast. And we talked about it yesterday. To have that speed guy at the top of the lineup, a guy that sold 44, 45 bags last couple of years, to have him at the top of the lineup to create chaos is everything. And they actually had him up there. And when he goes from first to home and he's running down third and he looks, he's running right. He looks again, see how close it's going to be. And then head first dive in, gets up, all kinds of emotion. Yeah, this is what I like.
And players like that over the past couple of series, people have been complaining about the decision to send guys or not to send guys and being too cautious. You don't have to be cautious with Luis Laura. Like, you're watching there, you're seeing Lane just wave his arm over and over. Like, he doesn't even think about it because Laura is just so fast, and it's so much fun to watch a player like that in this lineup. And what I love even more about the single that he hits is that he's driving in Cooper Pratt with that.
Yes.
Cooper Pratt has a good game. And you're seeing, again, this future start to come to fruition, and that's what's really cool.
Yeah. Speaking of,
Pratt fair inside the bag. Sanchez will score. Churio around third. He'll be sent. It's a 2-run double for Cooper Pratt. The Brewers have hung a 10 spot on St. Louis.
Who, by the way, also had a triple as well. So you had young guy Lara in his first game making an impact. You had Cooper Pratt making an impact with the bat as well. And if you were listening yesterday to Sam Dykstra from MILB and MLBpipeline.com talking about the #1 rated farm system in baseball with the Brewers, don't you think to yourself, well, yeah, I mean, Lara's nice, but he's not Madej. He's not Pena. He's not those guys. Pratt's good, but he's not those guys. And these guys are looking like this. What are those guys going to look like when they get here?
Well, and yeah, these guys, like, don't misconcept that whole thing. Those guys are good. Luis Lara and Cooper
Did you just
Pratt.
make up a word? Misconcept? I don't think that's a word. But either way,
like making up for
it. No, it's fine. Yeah, it's good.
Charlie's in dictionary. But Luis Lara and Cooper Pratt, those guys are still phenomenal prospects that still had really high ceilings too, especially Cooper Pratt. His whole way he's been talked about, he's been kind of the leader of this young farm system and that first name that a lot of people were really latching onto. And with this new group of guys, you got to be excited about them. And then, like you said, having Madej be the type of player that you're so excited for that could eventually come up by the start of next season. I'm hoping before the end of this season.
Those are both nice stories.
Yeah.
But what about this one?
And a fly ball to deep left center. Back at the wall, and Ortiz has left the building.
What?
That's an answer from Ortiz. That's his 5th hit of the day. Listen to the chants of Joey in St. Louis.
Hey, man, I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, but the dude's bat is different when he plays third defensively than when he plays short defensively. It's just not the same bat.
It's just probably more comfortable defensively. You don't have to think about it as much. And not that shortstop.
So that doesn't hang over going into the at-bat, you're saying?
Yeah, I think that when you're playing shortstop, when you have some mistakes like he's had this season at shortstop, I think those do drag on into your at-bat, or that you are focusing on that more than what you're doing, because now you don't have that Gold Glove caliber moving a spot over. He's still a really good defender. He still had a really good defensive season to start off the year, despite some of those errors that people are complaining about. But just when you go over to third base, it becomes unconscious if that's the position you've been playing for a really long time here. I think that's a big deal for Joe Ortiz. At the same time, can we please calm down a little bit still? I get he's playing really well over the past couple of weeks. He still has a sub 600 OPS. Like, I'm not going to buy into this until it starts getting to, that 695 at least, that 700, where you're just a respectable baseball player in the MLB. It's not there yet. I'm still not buying in on Joey Ortiz.
He's raised his batting average by like 25 points since he went to third.
Don't care. He's still batting 225.
His OPS went from like 559 to like 806. I just say, like, you could say, I don't believe it, I don't buy it, but the longer this goes, like, David Hamilton's going to come back from his strained hamstring. He may not have any more run at third base. He may just be a utility infielder at that point.
When he comes back, you also still have all these other positions that you still have to figure out where to put some guys, like Andrew Vaughn. Tommy brought it up in the Mason Crosby show that he could see Andrew Vaughn at third base just to get you going. Oh, you're off of the Andrew Vaughn on third base?
No, I'm done hoping for Andrew Vaughn at third base. It's not that I'm done with it, but he's not going to be defensively what Ortiz is. No, but that play Ortiz made yesterday, that 1-2-hop throw to first base, good Lord, that was amazing.
I still think that you have to find bats before worrying about losing defense. Like, I think if you can find a way to get Andrew Vaughn consistently on the field in these games, with Jake Bauers consistently on the field, and now that you have Luis Lara in that outfield spot, you want to try to get a rotation going out there, which means, like we've talked about before, Sal Frelick could find himself in some really weird spots. You're going to make some trades here. Like, I just am not convinced that Joey Ortiz has cemented a spot when you have so many other decisions to make that could involve his position.
The thing for me is when you're Pat Murphy for so long, this year, last year, Joey Ortiz has played simply because of how great he is defensively. Even though defensively, I think he wasn't as great as he was previously at shortstop last year. This year, he certainly wasn't as great as he's been in the past at shortstop either. But Joey Ortiz as a third baseman defensively, is it fair to say he's better there than he is at shortstop?
Oh, yeah, easy. I think so.
Right?
Is
that right?
Yeah, and again, he's just more confident at the plate then, too, because he's more unconscious defensively. And I think that helps him out a little bit.
That is just absolutely nuts to me to think that. But yeah, Joey Ortiz. So those to me were the stories of the game last night. Joey Ortiz, Cooper Pratt,
not Robert Gasser.
Lara. Okay, you want to talk about Gasser? We'll talk about him. So I was having this conversation about, okay, so Henderson's coming back. I think he's going to start tomorrow. You are going to have to make a decision with this rotation if you aren't going to go to 6 men, right? So Mizorowski, he's in. Harrison, he's in. Now, after that, you tell me. You got 3 spots left.
Sproat's in.
You've got Sproat, Gasser, Henderson, and who am I missing? Who's the other one?
Drowan.
And Drowan. So you've got 4 guys competing for 3 spots. Of those 4 guys, who's going to the pen or back down to the minors?
Well, I think you have 3 guys competing for 2 spots because Brandon Sproat has earned a spot in my mind. I think he's gone out there, has been able, again, I think he just has the stuff that it's going to unlock eventually here. And you've seen it a few times this season. For the most part of the season, he's been pretty consistent. I think it's 2 spots for 3 guys. Drowan has already been in the bullpen this season. He started the season off in that bullpen role. I think you just put him back into that spot, despite him having his moments. Robert Gasser, when you go 7 2/3, he's had a couple of games now in the past couple of months where he's looked really good. He's looked really bad in some games too, but he's looked really good.
Locked in the last 2.
And before his injury, he had 4 games 2 years ago that were phenomenal, that people were lining up to see that 4th start because those first 3 were so good. Like, he is that type of guy when he is feeling that way. And Logan Henderson is the same exact way as Gasser. A couple of years ago, last year, he has 4 starts where he looks amazing, gets hurt. If those guys can be healthy, they're locked into that group too. It has to be Drowan as the odd man out.
I think I agree with you. I think that's probably the solution. I'm not going to be in support of Henderson getting sent back down. So that one, I'm not in favor of that. Henderson has to be in my opinion. So that would be my 3rd lock-in. Your 3rd lock-in is Sproat. Mm-hmm. We all know they like Sproat, but we also know he's been in and out of the doghouse all year with Murphy. That's why when you say, oh, Sproat's a lock.
Yeah, but if we're talking about from my perspective, I get it from Murphy's perspective. He may not be as locked in on Sproat, but if I'm choosing the top 5, Sproat is that guy. Again, he's had moments this season where he looks like he's going to be a cornerstone of this rotation.
I agree.
And I think you have to put some kind of confidence into a player like that, like you've done with Jacob Mizorowski, like you've done with Quinn Priester and Kyle Harrison. He has to get that same kind of treatment eventually here.
Did you hear Paul Wagner earlier today, former Brewers pitcher, on with Mason Crosby in the last show?
What did he say?
Now, he was talking like he has inside information that Madej and the Brewers are talking.
Good, as they should be.
He wants more than Connor Griffin got.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Sure.
Connor Griffin has got a long-term deal averaging about $17.5 million a year.
Sure. Pay him $18 million. I don't care. Yeah.
I said I'd pay him 20.
Yeah, sure.
10 at 200. Call it a day.
Frankly,
good luck to you. You have
25.
Yelich coming off the book in 2 years. So that 20 number just replaces the Yelich number. And we move and we don't worry about it. I wouldn't hesitate.
If there's a floor, you have to meet that floor some way, somehow. So you have to give somebody around that $20 million if you're going to lose Christian Yelich eventually. William Contreras is another option still for extension. Bryce Terang could get an extension. You have other guys. Getting Madej done before any other players that are his age in that same kind of spot get contracts done has to be priority number 1.
See, I was saying this when it was going on.
And if that's the case, just bring them up then.
You're giving Lara and Pratt money, and I kept saying, I'm guessing that's because they can't get Madej done, or maybe they weren't talking to Madej because he wasn't at AAA yet, because they have not extended anybody that has not seen AAA yet. They have not done that. So if they do give Madej money now, he'll be the first one that gets extended before it even gets to AAA.
I don't know. He should be at AAA now. I would assume
I agree.
like that with Laura and Pratt being brought up, like that opens up a few spots. You have to just bring him up. Just do it. See what you can get.
If I'm guessing, and this is all I'm doing, I have no inside knowledge. He comes up after Jet Williams gets traded at the deadline.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's when he moves.
Yeah.
And that might be when Fisher moves too. If they think Fisher is ready to move again.
Leonard too. Could he be traded?
I think he's stuck. Maybe. Yeah, maybe he gets thrown into it.
Because that would be part of the reason maybe they haven't brought him up in moments like this, like we were thinking, where you could put him into a spot for David Hamilton with him hitting the IL. If you just want to trade him and not worry about maybe losing any kind of stock by him getting a week or two at the major league level, you keep him in the minors.
Yeah, that might be too. Got a bunch of texts coming in from the 715 Garrett and Tomahawk. Lara has some serious moxie too during the dog days. This infusion of young talent can't be overstated. I'm with you. 100% over with you. And it's infectious, right? I mean, like the Churio batting left-handed thing. That was a Contreras thing. That swing was way better than I thought it was going to be.
People were
he almost hit that to the warning track.
There was one guy that I saw, I'm sure other people have brought it up. He was like, old man take, this is bad for baseball. Shut up, dude.
I'll tell you what's bad for baseball. Allowing a position player out there to pitch. That's what's bad for baseball. And then the cat, I'll give him credit. Torres, that's who it was. He's like throwing it overhand, but like a softball pitch. I mean, literally, I see that in underhand beer league softball, the way he was doing it.
Like a
so now it's like, okay, time it up. So Churio is like left-handed. I got a good hand. I mean, 30-some miles an hour. I can hit that left-handed. Just timed it up and hit it. Hit it pretty good. But that's the type of fun stuff that the youth and stuff give you, right? And that's what you want. And it was concocted by, a little bit older of a player in Contreras, but still everybody was laughing and having a good time, right? Even though it was over.
They were all so shocked they hit it as far as he did. They panned across the dugout. And everybody has their hats off. Like
the offseason, Yelich is going to be swinging left-handed and come back as a switch hitter next year.
Hey, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be a pretty cool leadoff spot type of guy. I'll take that.
Speaking of the leadoff spot, 414 says replace Yelich with Lara in the leadoff spot now. He gets on base, controls the strike zone, and runs like a cheetah. Okay, so this is the thing, guys. You're not going to want to hear what I have to tell you. Where are you going to put Yelich in the lineup? Do not tell me. Do not respond with, but Sparky, he sucks. He's not going to play. No.
You can't.
It's not going to happen. You could say, Sparky, give him a couple days off a week. Okay, I can listen to that. But to take him out, not happening. So if he's going to play 5 days a week or 6 days a week, whatever it is, where's he going if he's not one? Because Pat Murphy is not going to humiliate Yelich by batting him 8. He's just not. I'm telling you, from a respect factor of a guy that's done everything and has been that dude in the organization and in the community and everything else, Murphy is not going to humiliate him and bat him 8. It's no chance that's happening. So where can he bat him to protect him, to give him the best chance of success? It's 1 or it's 2. So if you're going to say Lara's going to 1, okay, then Yelich is going to 2. But there's still a problem. Because if Lara is playing every day at the top of the lineup, that means Mitchell and Frelick are not playing every day. Because every day, one of those two are going to have to sit, or Churio are going to have to sit in order to get Lara into the lineup in order for him to play.
And they're just not going to sit one of those guys every single day.
Well, we're going to find out.
Like, I don't think...
Like, if Lara comes out, like crazy... Now, Frelick
trade one of those.
Let's say Frelick sits tonight, right? But what happens? So does Mitchell now get to play tonight? And now he sets Frelick to play Lara, or does Lara go to the bench and he's only going to rotate with Mitchell, and Frelick's going to play every game?
Which would be extremely frustrating too. Like this whole, that's why
you're rotating Frelick with Bowers to a certain degree.
Yeah, but Bowers has also just been that stud this entire season. I think with Luis Lara right now, again, you want to see a little bit more. But at the same time, that's what would make it frustrating, is that you're constantly having to sit one of those guys. You have to trade one. You have to trade Mitchell or Frelick.
Let's see here. 920. Yelich does not need to play every day. Vaughn needs to be the everyday DH. Start Yelich 1 game per series and let him get a pinch hit each game. Keeps him healthy all season, and he gets Bowers and Vaughn in the lineup every day. 920. I don't know who you are, but we could fist bump on that one. I agree with you. But again, I think it's unrealistic. We're going to talk more about Yelich and what Murphy had to say about Yelich yesterday when we come up at 3:00. We'll get more into that. But I I don't see any world where Pat Murphy is going to treat this dude like that, where he's going to bat with the bottom of the lineup or he's only going to play him, 2 or 3 games a week. I just don't see it.
Is 5 too disrespectful? Like that.
No, that's what I said.
Spot?
I think.
Yeah.
No, you mean batting Yelich 5?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Once you get to 7, 8, 9, I think it gets disrespectful.
So like even 6 is still okay, you think, in your mind?
Maybe.
I think 5 is where I'd want Yelich.
But again, if he's got no power, if he's going to be that contact hitter, which he hasn't done a good job of that either for 2 months.
He did a pretty good job yesterday.
Yes, he did.
We'll take that.
Which was nice. Right. And maybe he gets hot now. That would be good. Yelich gets hot going in the All-Star break, then gets a few days off to get rested, comes out playing well out of the All-Star break. Yeah. Trell, north side of Milwaukee. You're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Nicolay Law Talking Text Line. What's up, Trell?
Hey, what's going on? I heard this talk right here from you guys. I just had to call in. I tell you what, if they want to pamper around and put Yelich feelings up in some type of cushion pillow or something like that, they will never win a World Series. You have to make tough decisions, and if that means hurting one of your iconic players, if that's what you want to call the feelings, that's what had to happen. Do you know why? One of the reasons why the Bucks won the championship, it wasn't all about the players. I remember a series where Bobby Portis barely played.
The Nets series. He didn't play at all in the Nets series.
Exactly. And then guess what? They needed him in the Hawks series?
The Hawks series. Yeah, they brought him right back.
So you can't work. And Bobby Portis is one of the most temperamental players there is, especially before he even came in Milwaukee. If you can do that with him, you can do that with anybody in your lineup. And that has to apply for the Brewers. If they're going to play this game about, we can't hurt Christian Yelich Phillips, and we're talking about regular season games. Let's not even talk about the postseason. The guy has been terrible in the postseason since he's been here. And if you're going to sit here and tell us if you want to pamper his feelings in a regular season game, you may as well not trade for nobody at the deadline and just go in as a man getting ready to lose in the postseason. Because if he's hitting Mendoza in the postseason, I don't want to hear about, it can't hurt his feelings. Bench him if you have to. If that's going to give your team the best option to win, you cannot have that type of mindset or pampering guys' feelings if you want to really win something. That's the way I feel about that.
Listen, and I don't have a counter to any of what you said because everything you said was pretty much factual. My only thing on what you said would be, how does that clubhouse react to Yelich getting benched? Because that's their leader. That's like one of their dudes.
Sparky, trade him. Trade him.
Who's going to want him?
If you're scared to take a stand, trade him.
Sure, you could trade him. Absolutely. Same thing, though. Same question. How does that clubhouse respond if they move Yelich? Because when they decided that they were going to move Hader, that whole thing fell apart after he was gone. And Yelich, I think, is a bigger deal than Hader is, for sure.
I don't even think Yelich is the heartbeat of that team like everybody thinks. I think it's more Contreras than anything. That's why I say that.
Yeah, okay, fine.
I think it's more Contreras as the emotional leader and the guy that gets the ticking going more than Yelich, because he's been the one that's been more equipped in the postseason than Yelich has. So, that's just where I'm at with it.
All right, Trell, thanks for the call. It's hard to argue with him.
Well, and when you talk about trading him, I think the only benefit you have is that when you look at the American League, there's a lot of teams that spend money that I think would be willing to trade for a player like this if they feel like they can make a run at some point. Yankees and Blue Jays in
got a no trade clause, though.
I get it, but if he's going to the Yankees or the Blue Jays, if he's going to Texas, where it's a team that can be competitive, if they can be healthy, like those are all teams that I think Christian Yelich would be willing to waive his no trade clause to go and compete for.
Or a California team like the Dodgers.
Right.
So, they get hurt. They need an outfield or something like that.
Maybe the A's want to try to make a run at some point. That's close enough, right?
I just can't see it. I hear you. I just can't see it. 920. Here's the lineup without Yelich. Frelick and Lara rotating and the leadoff spot. Terang, Churio, Contreras. Bowers at 5. Vaughn at 6. Mitchell at 7. Ortiz and Pratt is your lineup without Christian Yelich in it.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable with that lineup, I think. But also, I don't feel any less comfortable if Yelich just slotted into that lineup too. So far this season, that's the overarching thing of all this is that the Brewers have still been playing well despite Christian Yelich not playing up to that peak. So, yes, we can talk about wanting to make these changes, but like we've been talking about with third base, with other outfield positions at points this season, it's really just picking at small things. These are not problems that I think need to be fixed right now, despite them being frustrating to us as fans.
Let's see. Got one here from JB in the 920. A Cub fan would say trade Sal Frelick. You can't, because as soon as Mitchell is the heart of the outfield, he'll turn right back into Abercrombie and IL. Then what? Says JB in the 920. Another one coming in from the 920. 920 is popping right now. You guys are killing it. Said, I had a coach that always said, screw your feelings, just play ball. It's time Murphy gets tough with Yelich. This coddling Yelich stuff has to stop. Y'all are mad at Christian Yelich, aren't you? And he actually was all right yesterday. He wasn't horrible.
He was fun to watch yesterday, actually.
I mean, yeah, the second game he wasn't great, but the first game he was all right.
the first game, that's all that
Led off with that double. From the 414, they react by realizing the team is focused on improving the team, but pandering to a has-been player. Yeah. See, I understand the emotions. I understand why everybody's mad at this dude. I get it. I understand why people are frustrated and want Yelich to sit and think he's hurting the team. But again, the other things that he brings outside of what he does on the field, I think plays into this. The stock that he's earned along the way in that organization and how he's respected in that organization, all of that. Now we got look at this.
I think we need to take a break and then we can come back to these.
Oh my goodness. All right, people sitting on hold wanting to talk about it. The text line is just blowing up. All right, we'll continue to talk more about Christian Yelich. We'll see. We'll see. Nobody's defending him. I haven't seen one yet that says no, he's got to play. Not one person yet. Nikolai Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. On the socials, live streaming at WI Sports Radio on X, YouTube, and on Instagram Live. Of course, on the Fan Milwaukee Facebook page as well. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.
Ground ball hit towards the middle. Going to get the run home. Yelich drives in the run. It's 1-0 Milwaukee.
See? He's producing an RBI ground out. What do you want?
That's so much fun. Yeah.
I like courtesy of Brewers TV. So Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Fiver, Charlie using over there. Ended up in a topic concerning Christian Yelich. Started on the talk and text line. Baseball coverage on Wisconsin Sports Radio Network is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi. One price, 5 years, guaranteed. Xfinity, imagine that. Talking about Christian Yelich. I don't even have a topic. It just evolved into people saying they don't want Yelich playing. They don't want Yelich in the leadoff spot. And me trying to explain why that's probably not going to happen.
Take the 3 o'clock topic and bring that up here and then put our original 2 o'clock down at 3.
Okay. All right. Fine. All right, let's talk about the crew. I guess we're going to move that. Charlie's making decisions.
You don't have to move the whole segment. I'm just saying you could just move the topic and we could.
Fine.
It's time to talk about the crew. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, so normally we do this at 3. Charlie made the executive decision not to do it at this point.
Our lead topic was a Brewers topic that we could have just put.
And it just converged into this whole thing. Concerning Christian Yelich. And the topic that we were going to do at 3 was concerning Christian Yelich as well that I wanted to get into here. Now, in between games 1 and 2 yesterday, Pat Murphy met with the media. Can I just say that's stupid? Like, there is no chance if I'm a manager, I'm trying to meet with you fools an extra additional time.
Well,
like, I'll talk to you before game 1. I'll talk to you after game 2, but I don't need to talk to you in between both games. And I know the beat writers got to write their stories, game stories, all that. I understand. I'm not trying to make Adam McKelvey or anybody mad at me. I'm just saying that to me, from a manager standpoint, like, go talk to Chris Hook after this game.
And especially when it's not like a recorded session either. It's just one where it's just like a written one taking notes by the reporters for the most part. It was all that. Like, I feel like that could be really quick. Yeah. Or Chris Hook can go out and talk to them. Right. Somebody else can just go out and talk to them.
Now, again, Yelich going into yesterday was hitting in his last 15 games, 127 in his last 15 games, heading into that doubleheader yesterday with 18 strikeouts in the last 15 games. So obviously Yelich not playing well. I understand that. But Murphy, after game 1 yesterday, said this. Write that down because people have got to know how much this kid, meaning Yelich, cares about the team and about the Brewers. And he feels awful that he's not producing at the rate of 30 homers and 100 RBIs like he did last year. He feels awful about it. He's working his tail off. And to come up today and do what he did, I'm just really proud of him. 3 hard contacts. And the first thing he did after the game is he said, Murph, don't rest me. I want to play the second game. That's of a sign of a guy that's hungry. Pat Murphy. So the question that we had was, do stories like this, talking about him getting to the stadium at 7:30 in the morning, goes rolling in with the coaches yesterday morning before a doubleheader to get all this additional work in, trying to get himself straightened out and fixed going forward. And then Pat Murphy telling everybody that he did it and telling everybody, look, man, he feels horrible. He's trying to do better. He's coming here super early on a doubleheader day to get it done and coming in with the coaches. Do stories like this sway your opinion on a struggling player when you hear how hard they're truly working at the end of the day? Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Jim, east side of Milwaukee, you're next. What's going on, Jim?
Yeah, I'm not thinking of the 40-man roster. Okay, I'm thinking about the whole organization. I'm thinking Anastasio. You know, Anastasio, the owner, he only pays like 42% of gross for the players. Okay, You think he's going to put some guy, the rookie who earns birdseed money, compared to a guy who earns $25 million a year, have him sit down a week, earning $1 million a month? Are you crazy over there at your station or what? There's no way Anastasio would say, Anastasio go to clubhouse and say, hey, what do you got this guy sitting for? I paid this guy good money. You get him out there and you have a bat.
Yes.
You know?
Correct.
Yeah.
There's no chance they're sitting him. There's no chance th're sitting him. I agree with you 1,000%.
There's no chance to trade him either. Who's going to pay $25 million for this guy?
Not playing the way he is, and you got him for 2 more years after this one. And he's got a no trade clause, so he can dictate where he goes.
That's right. And you got an owner. You got a owner who's got to stick by Yelich.
Yes.
You don't have a billionaire. You got a guy who pays 42% on his gross per player's salary.
It's not on his gross. It's on total. It's on the revenue brought in, essentially. Thanks for the call. So it's on the revenue from Major League Baseball. They get $330 million or whatever. And this report came out that in 25, they spent 42% of the money they got towards the payroll or whatever.
Yeah.
The Dodgers, I think, spent 90%.
Well, and his whole argument that Atanasio would come down to the clubhouse. I don't know. We've talked about it before too. Like, as much as Atanasio is a penny pincher, he's also a fan of baseball, and he also does like watching his team win. And if this is for some reason in the future going to lead to the team not winning games, Christian Yelich being in the lineup, which again, so far it hasn't really faltered them at all. This is a situation where I think he would let that go for his 2-time manager of the year, that he would let him make that decision if it meant that they could win baseball games again, if it got that bad.
I don't know how much Mark is on the phone with Matt Arnold. I don't know. I know back in the day, the GM heard from him once, twice, 3 times in a day as far as his thoughts on what's going on and him wanting to know why so-and-so's in the lineup and why are they doing this and why are they doing that. Mark's older. With this regime, I don't know how invested he is. Back in the day, I easily could have heard Mark saying, yeah, no, he's playing. But, I don't care. He's playing. Make sure he's in the lineup. I could easily have heard him say that if he was that much wanting something to be done. And you know what? They're going to do what he says if that's where he's at. I don't know if he is meddling at the same rate that he was when he got here originally.
Well, and probably not, especially since what we're talking about, if this is the money that they're using on the roster is coming from the league and not coming directly out of his pocket. I don't know. He may be a little bit more free willing to spend that money too, especially when he's keeping 68% of it.
But again, he's guys with Yelich though, man. Like that, there's something that goes along that too. When you have an owner that is tight with somebody and that's their guy, that makes it hard to try and move that guy. Mike in Waukesha, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. I guess I'm the odd guy out here with Yelich. When this whole regime started, I guess you could say it started with Craig Counsell, but I had all these arguments with my brothers and my relatives that we're finally playing baseball the way it should be played, hit and run, bunting, defense, stealing bases. This is the way baseball is fun to watch, not sitting back waiting for some clown to hit a 3-run homer. Well, Yelich has always been a streak hitter. The only difference between Yelich now and Yelich before was he'd usually drop below 300, and then he'd go on a streak and put himself back over 300 again. Now he's not hitting 300, but if you look at his average, I still think it's between 240 and 250. And he's a streak hitter, and it all of a sudden it just comes and he carries a team for a week. But my question to all these fans who can't stand this man is, has anybody looked at Sal Frelick? Sal Frelick, I'm the biggest Sal Frelick fan. I always have been. I love the speed kills. This guy's swinging from his knees. He's swinging it. He reminds me of an old catcher named Manny St. Gian from the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah.
There wasn't a pitch the guy wouldn't swing at. Sal Frelick is out of control the way he's swinging the baseball bat. That's the guy that should be sitting out more games than Yelich.
All right, hold on a second here. Hold on. Don't go anywhere, all right? In the month of May, Sal Frelick hit 217 with a 250 on base and 253 slugging. That's god-awful. In the month of June, Sal Frelick hit, what do you think Sal Frelick hit in the month of June, Mike?
I know he had a good June.
Okay.
Probably 320.
320? What do you think, Charlie?
I would say probably around there, 330 maybe.
He hit 348 in June with a 416 on base and 464 slugging. Now, in July, we're at 7 games so far in the month of July. He's hitting 50. He is 1 for 20 so far in the month with 2 runs scored, and he has 1 extra base hit, a double. So
3
Frelick,
strikeouts to 0.
right? Frelick definitely struggling so far this month.
So, Sparky, why not? What is so unusual? Why couldn't we rotate these guys? You could have everybody gets a day off every 4th day. You're nice and rested. I don't see anything wrong with it. I love this new kid, but it is only one game.
Correct.
So, I do love this new kid. But, I mean, you watch Yelich. I thought yesterday, that first game, when he came out with the 3 hits, I really thought, all right, he's going to snap out of it. Well, they shouldn't have let him play the second game.
Correct.
He's probably a little too old to be playing back to back games.
Exactly, Mike.
So,
exactly right. Thanks
right.
for the call, buddy. I appreciate it. No question about that. I appreciate it. Real quickly on Yelich. Yelich hit 253 with a 345 on base in June. 337 slugging. Again, that slugging number is way down from where you need it to be. So far in July, 138 batting average, 242 on base, 310 slugging. So better than Frelick, but still not very good. Take a quick time out, come back on the other side. I want to quickly go over this NIL story I found for the last segment of the show, and then we'll change gears at the 3 o'clock hour. Hey, the Banana Frosty Swirl is a perfect treat from Wendy's Minion Friends. They created the banana cream sauce with real banana. The flavor is like a classic banana cream pie or pudding and pairs perfectly with Wendy's Vanilla Frosty. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Fiver, Charlie Houston producing. Other side of the glass, Chicago Charlie doing his thing. JB in the 920. We're going to get to this NIL stuff, but he sidetracked us again on the Brewers. Ask this question in the break on the Nicolay Law Talking text line, 414-677-1250. What's Sal Frelick's defensive win above replacement as JB in the 920? So Charlie got to looking and oh boy.
So far this season, he has a -1 DRS. That's on pace for a -2. Obviously, we're about halfway through the season.
Negative?
-1.
Didn't this dude win the Gold Glove?
Yeah. So in the season that he won the Gold Glove, 2024, he had a 15 DRS, a +15 DRS. And last season, when he didn't win it, he still had a good season, a +6 DRS at that.
What happened? What happened? I mean, if defensively he's not the guy, and offensively it's a struggle, like there is going to have to be something made. And maybe Matt Arnold, knowing the numbers, seeing what's happening, is going, I want to see what Lara does. And if Lara gets going, then Frelick is going to be the fourth outfielder. Maybe that is what is going on here. And think about this. We watched Blake Perkins for how many months before they finally called up Lara?
Oh, Blake Perkins is so cool, though. He's Pat Murphy's best friend.
He
hit a home run a month ago, so that got him another month of service.
I told you that was going to happen.
That's what happens.
I told you exactly that's what was going to happen.
With Sal Frelick, I think it's kind of the inverse of what we were talking about with Joey Ortiz earlier, where I think he's struggling more at the plate than he ever has in his career. And because of that, it's taking a toll on his defense because he's just trying to focus on making sure he can hit the ball and it's not as unconscious. That's struggling and that's frustrating. And I think that's something that the Brewers can look back over the past couple of years and say, you know what? He hasn't struggled like this. He hasn't been as frustrated as this. He's been a Gold Glover. He can figure it out on defense and give him the right environment to hit.
But Charlie, you said he went from 15 to 6. That's half. Now he went from 6 to negative. That's complete regression. Like, it hasn't even leveled off. He just went straight down the other side of the hill.
There's still a whole nother half of the season left. I don't think he's obviously going to fix it to where it's going to be anything better, but it can be better than what he's doing right now. It's not going to be better than 6, but better than now.
Potawatomi Sportsbook, 2 levels, 2,000 square foot center screen, over 30 sporting events for you to watch. Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen is amazing. All day brunch with steak and eggs, steak and bagel sandwiches, pancakes, and more. They got wings, tenders, build your own burgers, wraps, salads, desserts, and pastries made every day. Fresh. So good right there at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. Tons of cold beverages, over 40 beers on tap, along with a dozen different specialty cocktails. Must be 21 to enter the casino. Don't forget, they have shuttles going to and from Brewers home games you can take advantage of too. Check them out today at Potawatomi.com. Coming up next, we're going to switch gears to the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks made a deal yesterday. It's now official. We got the email from the Bucks. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the draft and whether or not maybe John Horst is starting to sway some people onto his side of the ledger. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
We are live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you, Charlie Usen as well, producing Other Side of the Glass. Don't forget, coming up 4:30 to 5:30, tonight is the Wisconsin Sports Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The 2026 class gets inducted tonight. Obviously, Mason Crosby just went in recently. A bunch of us went to that. That was very cool. This induction ceremony tonight is at the Marcus Center, downtown Milwaukee. And amongst those going in, former Packers president Mark Murphy will be going in tonight. Ryan Braun, Brewers outfielder, he will be going in tonight. And a bunch of others going in with both of those two. And Tommy Wirtz and Mark Cass of Lammy Sports, they will be co-hosting a show from 4:30 to 5:30 today with that class and trying to get as many of those guests on as possible from 4:30 to 5:30. And then the leadoff show, Tommy Wirtz will just stay down there at the Marcus Center and do the leadoff show from 5:30 to 6:30, getting you ready for Game 4 of the Brewers and Cardinals. But pretty cool. I don't know if there's a guarantee they'll get Braun and Mark Murphy on, but I'll be listening.
That would be pretty cool if they could.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big honor. I think we talk about Giannis over the past couple of weeks and what he meant to the city of Milwaukee and what the city of Milwaukee meant to him. I think the state of Wisconsin, what these people mean to the state of Wisconsin and what the state of Wisconsin means to them, it's so awesome to honor that.
Yeah, no question. Now, normally we do Let's Talk About the Crew here. We made the executive decision because we were talking about the Brewers and it became a Christian Yelich topic in the first hour of the show to just stay with it and do it there. So now we're going to transition over to the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Milwaukee Bucks were involved in a 6-team trade yesterday that was announced. Part of the deal has Chris Middleton on his way back to the Wizards and a 3-year deal averaging just around $6 million a year. Winger, who is their GM, was out and about in the offseason talking about he's never been around a better vet in his career and how much of an influence and impact he had on that young locker room that he was devastated to have to move him in that Mavericks trade. And now here comes Middleton on a sign and trade coming back to the Wizards, and they add him to that locker room. And Charlie and I were talking about this off the air. I could easily see the Wizards being a top 6 team next year and being one of those surprise teams. They won't be Pistons 1-seed surprise, but I think they definitely, again, Anthony Davis has to stay healthy. But if he stays healthy, they very well could be hanging out there in that 6 hole.
They have a really nice mix of veterans like you were just talking about, Anthony Davis and Trae Young, and I think both those guys fit really well together in theory. We'll see how it plays out on court, but they really balance each other out with their weaknesses and their strengths. I think that's going to be huge for this team. You have some young talent and Alex Sarr, who I know a lot of people aren't super high on, but he's still a player that was drafted pretty highly only a few years ago. We'll see what he can do. You have some young talent coming in from the draft this year, and then you bring in a Chris Middleton to kind of be that glue guy that I think is a veteran that has been here for the Washington Wizards, has also played with Anthony Davis in Dallas a little bit. So that's something that's going to be big too. Oh, wait, no, they were traded for each other. Never mind.
Some young talent?
Yeah.
What pick did they have? 1.
Oh, yeah, that's true. AJ Divansta, yeah.
That's more than just young talent. That's a franchise-changing difference maker, right? So
I keep thinking he should be in Utah to me.
Well,
still,
fine, but he's not.
I know he's not.
He's not. That's where Peterson is. He's good too.
Darren Peterson, he looks angry. Have you seen the interviews he's been doing for Utah where he's just like, yeah, Cam Boozer was picked right behind me. He's going to have some motivation. I'm going to shut that down right away. He just comes out, keeps saying stuff like, that's cold-hearted, man.
It's going to be fun to see how that all plays out. But yeah, so I think Washington be good. But anyways, part of the 6-team trade, Gary Harris of the Bucks and Taurean Prince of the Bucks, they get moved and they go to Detroit as part of this deal. Now, I'm sure many of you, when they saw this trade last night come across your timeline from Shams Charania, said, not Gary Harris and Taurean Prince, anybody but them.
No, you were broken up, Sparky.
Oh, it was hard.
Torian Prince has been a glue guy for this team.
I literally thought it was going to be for cash considerations or something along those lines. No, it wasn't. They got Karis LeVert. I get it. One good last year, right? It's been a minute since he's been really good. So he may not be some huge factor into all of this, but you also got 2 second-round picks that are both next year. You had nothing. So you needed to continue to add assets now. So now they're up to 7 first-round picks that they can deal and up to 4 second-round picks that they can deal if and when they decide to go do something. Plus, they have a $25 million trade exemption that they can absorb a relatively big contract into if they want to go that way. Plus, they have the mid-level, which is like 15 or whatever, that they can still use there if they want to. But they got their roster down to 15 now, right? So now you're at 15, and you didn't have to cut Torian Prince. You didn't have to cut Gary Harris. You got a player that's probably as good, if not better, I would say, than Gary Harris and LeVert.
At his best, he's one of the best 6 men in the league.
Right, but it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he looks like. But again, that's a wing player that can come in and shoot the three a little bit and get to the rim maybe a little bit too and see what happens. Is he a great player? No. Is he a good player? No. Now, he was definitely below average last year. So we'll see what it looks like this year for LeVert. But that's a good deal because you got those other picks. And you can say, Sparky, who cares about second-round picks? Because I had this conversation earlier today off the air. And I said, come on, guys. Listen, I don't care about the hit rate, right? I don't care how bad the hit rate is. Actually, it wasn't today. It was last night with my kid. He's like, that's like a 5% hit rate with second-round picks turning into something. I was like, stop. You go through and look at the Bucks. Ilyasova, second-round pick. Monte Ellis was a Golden State second-round pick. He was a second-round pick. Michael Redd was a second-round pick. Luke Richard Bahamute was a second-round pick. I can go through them. You could argue they've had more success in the second round in the history of this organization than they've had success in the first round of this organization. Now, with this GM, no. But overall, those second-round picks can mean something, especially if the idea is we're going to use picks to go get somebody of significance to put out there with whoever it may be going forward, right?
Well, and second-round picks, they're more solid now than first-round picks could be for some teams like the Milwaukee Bucks. With all the different lottery rules that are coming out,
Yes.
I think a lot of teams are going to be afraid of trading for first-round picks for a little while, at least giving up a lot for it. With a second-round pick, you know exactly where it's going to be, so you're going to have that value right away for whatever it's worth. That's going to be a lot easier to trade than trying to work through the future of a first-round pick now. Teams are going to be more willing to just say, yeah, we'll take a second-round pick because that's easy to say yes to.
So you take that trade, which I thought was really good. Then you couple that with Burries and Amen in the draft. My question is simple. Do you like what Horst has been able to do so far? Maybe starting to swing over. Don't think he's incompetent anymore. Maybe starting to think maybe he has somewhat semblance of an idea that he might know what he is doing. Just curious. Maybe you need to see more. But I think he's done well so far. I mean, the draft, I thought he did good there. He did what he was supposed to do. He did best available, essentially, for Burries. Didn't reach on Ament. And then got the high-end, high-ceiling player in Ament. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you got to swing for the fences in order to get one. That's what they did with Giannis. I'm not saying he's Giannis, but that's my point, right? Burries is who he is. I don't know really how high that ceiling is. Ament definitely has a high ceiling.
We talked about Christian Yelich and whether or not the stories from Pat Murphy make you kind of trust that he's going to rebound from that. Does hearing these types of rookies come in who are so excited to be a part of Milwaukee, because it seems like Braden Burries and Nate Amon have been really happy to be a part of the Bucks organization so far. They've gone around the city of Milwaukee already. They keep talking. They seem like they're friends with each other. Does that make you feel even better about these draft picks, seeing that kind of interaction that they're having as rookies coming into this team that seemingly doesn't really have that bright of a future, at least in the next couple of years?
My outlook on this franchise, and we want to talk about goals and so forth. My goal would be to try to be a top 4 or 5 seed within 3 to 5 years. That would be my goal. And I'm leaning towards more 5. I'm being optimistic by saying 3, right. Probably not realistic. But I would say if you can get back to being a 4 or 5 seed by the time you get to 2031, if you can get to that point, I think it's a rousing success. You did an unbelievable job. Now, what's the other side of that spectrum? It takes you another 10 to 20 years before you find another legit player to build around going forward. They're going to need luck to turn this around. And I don't mean Giannis luck, because that's like winning the lottery, right? But you do have to win the other lottery. I think somewhere here in the next 5 years, you've got to get one of these top 3 players in a draft class with one of your first round picks. You have to get that type of lucky and then hope that draft class like this is pretty stacked in that top 3 for you to get a really good player, and hope it's not one of those years where you're like, man, I don't even like the first pick. We get to pick 2 or 3. Oh, goody. Not convinced anybody is really that great. You don't want that, but you want to be in a draft class where, hey, top 3 is loaded. We know the top 3 are going to be studs, and get and win that lottery. There is going to have to be one of those lucky moments. The Bucks got one with Bogut. The Bucks got one with Glenn Robinson. Now they've got to figure out, can they potentially get one again? That is something this organization is going to need, in the next 3 to 5 years, if they're going to dig themselves out of this.
And I get where you're coming from. I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that the way that these 2 players have carried themselves since being drafted by the Bucks makes you more confident that A, that they're going to hit as picks, and B, that they're going to be able to get to that peak like you're talking about, closer to that 5-year mark than like an 8-year mark, or closer to the 3-year mark than even that 5-year mark?
Means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. Dude, I can be a really nice guy. That doesn't mean I can do my job at the highest of levels just because I'm a nice guy. You have to have God-given talent. You have to have unbelievable work ethic to go along with it. You have to have the discipline of and the character of what are you doing when nobody's watching in the offseason? How much do you really want it in the offseason? And all of that has to come through. I'm glad they seem like nice guys. They seem like they're nice. They seem like they want to do it together, right? You'd be happy too, or if you're a millionaire potentially for the first time. I don't know what kind of NIL deals those guys have prior to this, but
personally, I'd be happier in Milwaukee than I am in Salt Lake City, or happier in Milwaukee.
Have you ever been to Salt Lake City?
No, but I think I can predict what I'm going to like or not like about these places.
See, you're just as bad as Stephen A. Smith and some of these other cats. That's the stuff that drives. No, not Stephen A. Who was the girl that was on there with him? On that show back in the day, went on First Take. She was with NFL Network. Rami had a mad crush on her. Golly, I can't think of her name. But she was the one on TV with Stephen A. that said, well, who wants to go to Milwaukee? I'm rooting for whoever, so I don't have to go to Milwaukee. And then somebody called her on and said, have you ever been to Milwaukee? No. But you're slamming Milwaukee and say you don't want to go there, even though you've never even been there and don't even know anything about our city. But on national TV, we don't want to go to Milwaukee to do post-game shows or pre-game shows for the Bucks in the finals. That's the type of stuff that drives me nuts.
I'm not saying I wouldn't like
You're
it
not
eventually.
the only person that does it. A lot of people do it.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't like it eventually. I'm just saying that in the moment, there's some places that I'm going to be more excited about. And that first interview that you have with the press and stuff, you're going to be more excited about being in some places than other places. What I'm saying, yes, eventually you might fall in love with that place that you got drafted to. But in the moment, I think it's encouraging to see that these guys seem excited about wanting to be in Milwaukee.
Let's go over there to the Dugout YouTube chat. Jeff is over there.
Jeff says, I think they did a great job on the trade and picks. I'm looking forward to Hero because I know Tyler's dad. However, I am laughing knowing Giannis has interest coming back. He's Sparking Charlie. Great show.
Oh, thank you very much, Jeff. Hey, don't forget, you can watch Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Growth Love video stream on Instagram Live, X, and YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Injured Growth gets it. Let's see. Got some text messages coming in as well. From the 262, Horse has always been all right. It's arrogant Giannis who was the GM that ruined the team. Guaranteed contracts must die. Okay. Sure, I'm with you. I would like to see guaranteed contracts in the National Football League and not guaranteed contracts in baseball and basketball. And I'm okay with guaranteed contracts in hockey. Why? It's simple. Your life could be changed forever or potentially die in the other two sports. Not to say you might, but not potentially, life could be changed if you get hit with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball in your nose, in your face. Yeah, that could change.
There's risk in every sport.
There is, right. But baseball and basketball, if you said no more guaranteed contracts, I'd be like, okay, fine, makes sense. But those players' associations are never going to agree to that. So there's no sense of even thinking about that ever happening. It's just not going to happen. And even with this vitriol going back and forth between the owners and the Players Association, the owners will never, ever go towing that line of, hey, we'd like to eliminate guaranteed contracts. You think they're mad about getting a salary cap potentially? Could you imagine their reaction if they came at them with, we'd like to eliminate guaranteed contracts going forward, and we're going to make it more like the NFL. So the guaranteed signing money is really what it's going to be all about. I don't see in any world the NFL or the NBA or MLB ever giving that up.
No shot. You would have to give them so many other things that I think you would not be able to give them as the owners or as the league. That's just impossible. There's no way to go back when you've already set these standards.
Totally agree with you on that. Hey, the Minions really wanting to press a new big boss, Wendy's, so they cooked up some fun chaos for the fans. Say hello to the Minions and Monsters meal, featuring one of 4 unique collectibles, new banana frosty swirl, your choice of a big bacon classic or spicy chicken sandwich, plus a small fry. It's time to go bananas over this exclusive Wendy's experience, limited time only. Take a quick time out, come back. We're going to talk about the manager, coach, whatever you call him in soccer, talking about how they thought their game against Argentina was rigged. I think we got a fun topic to talk about out of this. I think it's going to be fun. I think you're all going to be like, oh, I know what it is for me, Sparky. So we'll get into that next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. Welcome in, Wisconsin Sports Daily. See Sparky Fiver, Charlie Usen, other side of the glass. All right, so we've talked Brewers, we've talked Bucks. I wanted to get into this guy from Egypt. So yesterday, when we had Eric Name on, some of you were probably listening or watching the Brewers game, so completely understood. But if you go back and listen to Eric Name, very, very good as always. Bucks beat writer for The Athletic. WISportsradio.com. You can find it there. Best Bucks coverage. If you search on your app, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast app, whether that be the Odyssey app, iHeart app, whatever it may be, just put in Wisconsin Sports Daily or Best Bucks coverage, Best Brewers coverage, Best Packers coverage. You can find a lot of your stuff that way. You can go back and listen to Eric Name. And at the end of the interview, we got to talking a little bit about soccer and what was going on because he was at the World Cup U.S. soccer game in Seattle. So we talked a little bit about it. And he had mentioned during that, man, Messi bailed him out and, Egypt probably had a chance to win that game and so forth. I didn't have it on necessarily here in the studio. And then when you see what all went down and how this whole thing played out is pretty wild. After the game is done, the dude that coaches Egypt comes out and says, it was rigged. Pretty sure everybody can see it was rigged. That's what the dude said.
He said it. The player that scored the goal that was overturned
and rescinded because of a foul that they found when they went back in VAR to review the goal. Oh, we see a foul before the goal. No count for the goal.
Immediately after the game, he's talking about how it's rigged. They're just both just so mad about all this, and I don't blame them. It kind of felt like it was rigged, man.
So this is from BBC Sports talking about the formal complaint filed by Egypt.
Egypt are calling for an investigation after their dramatic World Cup exit against Argentina. The Egyptian FA have lodged a formal complaint to FIFA and are saying the ref, the VAR team and the on-pitch assistants should be kicked out of the tournament immediately. They say the officiating team during their 3-2 loss to Argentina enacted double standards when making several decisions. They're also accusing FIFA of showing favouritism to Lionel Messi. It's down to a number of decisions from disallowing Mustafa Zico's second half goal to not awarding Egypt a penalty when Mo Salah went down in the box just moments before Argentina scored the winner. Egypt boss Hussam Hassan has said his side has been treated unfairly and suffered injustice. BBC Sport has approached FIFA for comment. So will this change anything? Well, under the laws of the game, the ref's decision is final unless there has been a clear misapplication of the rules. That means getting something totally wrong in law and not just making a call which a team disagrees with. Egypt would have to demonstrate something drastic for action to come from this.
Okay. First of all, I love the music playing behind it. That is.
Oh, it was in a coffee shop.
Yes. I was like, what is this? That's very good. So this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a fun little topic out of this and see if y'all want to play along with me. Name another game or moment, sports related, in your life where you were convinced that a game may have been rigged. Convinced. You got no proof, right? So nobody knows for sure. I don't want nobody getting sued. But where you got to watching the game, you're like, man, get out of here. Those referees were definitely helping the other team, right? I know, living here all my life, that there are games where we all can point to. We're like, oh, man, Sparky, I know what game I can remember, or I know what situation I can remember. What is it for you? Can you think of a game or a moment where you're like, I'm convinced that thing was rigged against us? Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Of course, on the socials at WI Sports Radio, you can comment right there in the Dugout YouTube chat. If you comment on Facebook, it'll pop up for us as well in the Facebook Milwaukee. I can't even talk. The Facebook Milwaukee Fan Facebook page. You can comment there. Instagram Live, X, YouTube at WI Sports Radio. Would love to have you participate. I remember back in the day doing post-game shows in Milwaukee on 1250 and, 15-win season and all that crazy nonsense. And being in games against like the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq. And the game would get done and the phone lines would be lit up. Man, screw the NBA. We should have won that game. The referees were against us. They weren't going to let LA lose. Screw these guys, blah, blah, blah. right? Or how about this? Was anybody shocked that LeBron James went 1 to Cleveland? That surprised anybody? Was anybody like, "Oh, I didn't see that coming"? Did anybody say that?
Or what is the frozen envelope for Patrick Ewing?
Patrick Ewing. Well, that's where it all started. From there forward is where it all started, right? Some of these, it's just like, goodness gracious, you got to be kidding me. Or how about LeBron leaves, and guess who gets one right away? Cleveland.
Curious.
There you go. Again,
David Robinson's at the end of his career.
Again, Tim Duncan. Well, that was that. Yes, but that also was they weren't good because they didn't have Robinson, and then they got lucky, and Duncan goes and changes the course of history with San Antonio. But there's no proof that any of this ever was rigged or whatever else. But there are moments as fans where you're like, see, what did I tell you? I told you so. I knew that was going to happen. What is it for you? 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Matt in New Berlin, you're up next on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. What's up, Matt?
Sparky, I think you're old enough to remember the I think it was 1972 Olympic basketball game where the Russians got 3 or 4 chances to win. They missed a free throw. They got fouled. They didn't really get fouled. Then they got a rebound, and they ran up and down, and they ran out of clock. But the ref called a foul on the U.S. and gave the Russians another couple of chances at free throws. And finally, they did it again. And finally, it came down, and they finally ran out of time, and the Russians won the game where the U.S. had the ball, had the lead, and they kept giving it back to the Russians so they could come down and score. It was pretty, okay, no proof, but holy cow. It was a time when the Russians were big time, and we were still playing college kids against the Russian pros, and we still would have beat them if the ref wasn't who he was.
Yeah, and the Russian pros, while they were pros, still weren't at the level of even, say, a college basketball player in the U.S. at that point. For the most part.
No, they sure weren't. They were done. The game was basically over. And I don't know, it's almost like soccer getting extra playing time because of dead clock or something. But if you look at the video, there's no possible way for the U.S. to lose until they did.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. So I wanted to go back to the 1972 USA basketball team.
That up too, yeah.
Doug Collins.
Uh-huh.
That's a name. We know Doug Collins.
I know Bobby Jones. I think that's the only other name I know.
That's it?
List. I think that's it.
Jim Brewer? You don't know Jim Brewer?
No, that name doesn't ring a bell.
Played at Minnesota. Let's see. Who else
Tommy Burleson, 7'2".
Yes. Yep. Tom Henderson. Bobby Jones, North Carolina. Obviously, a lot of people know Bobby Jones.
I read Ratliff, and I was like, oh, Theo Ratliff. And I was like, oh, wait, no, never mind. That's Ed Ratliff. That was probably a little too early for Theo Ratliff.
Yeah. So, yeah, 1972 for sure. Now, have you looked at the talk and text line?
I have.
Oh, yes. So I can't ask you this then. If I don't know why I didn't think this was going to be the most popular one, because clearly it should be the most popular one. Bucks, Sixers, 2001 is dominating. I mean, dominating. Eastern Conference Final, dominating the Nicolay Law talk and text line. Like not everybody, but a lot of them are there in Game 7, where again you think about Scotty Williams, Stu Jackson, the screw job, as Herb Cole, the senator, would say later at a press conference, that they pretty much got the screw job to him that year. I don't think he should have been suspended for a game. I've had Stu Jackson on the radio, and he and I went back and forth about it, and he thought I was overreacting and that it was clear that he should have been suspended. So Stu doesn't take anything back. Stu, to this day, Stu Jackson, Stu Jackson passed away, right? Yeah, I don't think he's alive anymore. Is that right? Maybe not. I think maybe I'm misremembering. Now I'm questioning myself. He's the commissioner of the West Coast Conference. Yeah. So Stu Jackson, the last time he was on with us was 2 years ago. It was on this show. I think it was 2 years ago we had Stu on. It's Stu was standing by it, that Scott Williams should have been suspended and was not taking anything back. Stood by it. Herb Cole, Scott Williams, myself, others all thought it was absolutely ridiculous. And then you fast forward, Glenn misses a shot that normally makes, and a bunch of other stuff goes on. But I'm telling you, I will go to my grave believing the Bucks could have beat the Lakers in that finals had they got to the finals. They beat them both times in the regular season that year. The Sixers were not a good matchup for the Lakers, or the Lakers were not a good matchup for the Sixers at that point. Yes, you had Iverson and Snow and Aaron McKee and those guys on that team for sure. But that was not the matchup. And the Lakers absolutely mopped them up. And it's unfortunate because the Bucks could have been in the finals at that point and had potentially a chance to maybe beat the Lakers.
Were they wearing the purple and greens too? That would have been such a cool uniform to win an NBA championship in, man.
They absolutely were. 715. Jonah from River Falls. Any NBA playoff game that Scott Foster or Tim Donahue has officiated?
Well, Tim Donahue for sure. Yes, that was definitely rigged because he was doing some pretty illegal things. Scott Foster, I don't think has been charged with any rigging games, so that one might be speculation.
But no. But Scott Foster's got a whole thing in games.
Him and Chris Paul have beef. Isn't that the big thing that they both go back at each other? And like Scott Foster won't call things for Chris Paul, stuff like that. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on there. The tuck rule from the 414. Patriots, Raiders, all that stuff, and the snow, right?
I know a lot of Raiders fans are mad about that one for sure. I don't like when I think about these bigger moments, I'm thinking more recently too. One of the ones I'm thinking of, and we're about to hit All-Star break here for the MLB, but NBA All-Star break, Aaron Gordon losing the dunk contest to Zach LaVine in 2016. That's one of the biggest ones that like sticks in my mind. People still talk about that all the time. More recent one, college football, a couple of years ago, Notre Dame getting the bid over Florida State. That was extremely frustrating to me too. I hate Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's like the dumbest college football.
That's easier, but that's easier to proclaim. And from that perspective, because you got human beings making the decision. So that one, that's a little bit different than actual game action or a lottery where, random people are automatically winning or something like that. I don't know.
Can't that still be rigged though? Can't that still be somebody can change votes or somebody can be pushing for something because somebody's motivating them behind the scenes? Maybe.
I will say that I do not know the answer to this. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I know how it goes because I've never been in the room. I would assume that is a open dialogue and discussion and they all agree together. I don't even think you ever get to writing down a secret vote and putting it into a box and then they count at the end. I don't think that's how they do it. I could be wrong. Maybe that is how they do it. That's a good question to find out to see how that whole thing works. Let's see. 414. The refs control the games. It was blatant when we won the championship title. Game 5, they called everything on Giannis. Game 6, everything was on Phoenix. I guess I had never thought about the refereeing in that series. All these years later, I don't think have you ever heard anybody talk about that? I mean, we hear about Durant and the shoe size, half shoe size too big.
Yeah, but
if that shoe size was smaller, his foot's not on the line.
Video footage that his foot's on the line, so that can't be rigged.
I understand that. No, but I'm saying of the reasons of why the Bucks won. I've heard a lot of different things. They got lucky. Trae Young got hurt, and the Nets weren't healthy, and da-da-da-da-da. But I've never heard anybody bring up the fact that the Suns got screwed on calls in that last game. That's the first time I've heard anybody bring that up.
No, I don't think so. And is that what he's saying? Game 5, they called everything on Giannis. Game 6, everything on Phoenix.
Correct.
So I don't know if that's really in my mind, rigged. I think that's something where I think Phoenix goes into that game 6 thinking that they can be a little bit more aggressive because the Milwaukee Bucks were more aggressive in game 5. The rest were kind of watching that more on the Bucks. They'll have their eyes on the Bucks more in game 6. We can go into game 6 with a little bit more of an aggressive kind of view now that we're on the ropes here a little bit. And then all of a sudden they're making more aggressive plays that the refs are watching and are calling the fouls on.
A lot of times when you look at basketball games, when people start talking about it's rigged, the first stat that everybody will look at
free throws
every time. Now, we've talked about this in the past. Listen, if you are a finesse jump shooting team and you don't play going to the rim because you don't have anybody that goes to the rim or you don't have a big guy that plays at the rim, you're not going to get foul calls in the playoffs. I hate to break it to you. You're not. Now, if you're a team that's overly aggressive and super physical and they don't want to blow their whistle every time down the court, they're going to let that team get away with a hell of a lot more than they are the finesse team. And back in the day with Glenn, Ray, and Sam, they were more of a finesse team. They just were. That's kind of how they played. Philly was more of a physical team. We start going back to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's kind of who they were. And as we were talking about the rebuild and how they're going to do this in Milwaukee and so forth, what do you want your identity to be? What type of players do you want to draft and play with going forward? Is it going to be a jump shooting team with all these 3-pointers? Look at the Boston Celtics. They're taking like 50 3-pointers a game. And what did they determine? We're not going to win a title this way. We need a physical presence
Even
at the
though
rim.
They did win a title that way.
I know.
Which is weird. Yeah.
But now it's like, we can't win this way. We need a physical presence inside. So they were trying to get Giannis. It didn't work. But that's the reason why they were trying to get Giannis at the end of the day. So to me, it's harder in the NBA to yell and scream about that stuff unless there's a questionable suspension or something like there was with Scott Williams. It's harder to go the other way with it.
Well, and I think also nowadays, though, too, the way that the NBA is going about refereeing and sending their referees out there, coming back every 3 months and then talking about what they're seeing and what they're missing or what they're calling. And then the NBA kind of changes the way that they call these games. You watch it happen every time at the All-Star break. They all of a sudden are reffing the games completely differently in the second half and then different in the playoffs. That's a big deal. I can see why some people would consider that being rigged.
How much World Cup soccer have you watched?
I've been trying to watch like half a game a day, basically.
I was asked this question last night, or was it the day before? I don't know. In the last 2 days, where do you see more flopping? In soccer or in the NBA?
NBA. I think sometimes these soccer guys, like, they just get twisted up in legs, and then they kind of play it out a little bit more, but they actually end up on the ground. In the NBA, I think there's guys that barely get touched, should not be on the ground, and they end up on the ground.
That was my answer as well. Hey, the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network is proudly outfitted by Burkhardt Sporting Goods, our official apparel partner. Outfit your team or company with custom apparel today at BSG1881.com. BSG1881.com. Charlie, sounds of the day coming up next, featuring the new Badgers athletic director, Sean Eichhorst. Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back. It is Wisconsin Sports Daily. Steve Sparky Pfeiffer with you. Thanks for tuning us in here on a Wednesday, July 8th. Do appreciate it. So time for Charlie's segment.
1, 2, 3. What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, Charlie, where are we going first?
All right. So for all three clips, we are heading on over to the Big Ten Network, where new Wisconsin Athletic Director Sean Eichhorst had his introductory press conference. This first clip, he is discussing the state of Wisconsin football.
The last couple conversations I've had with Luke, I haven't worked with him. I didn't really know him, but I'm super passionate about Badger football, as we all are. You know, we have high standards here. And I am so encouraged in my conversations with him. Just a good person, high character, a lot of integrity. I think he also shares this perspective about what college is about and the educational component and all those other sorts of stuff. Obviously, he's won every place he's been. And so my expectation is more of me than him, meaning I need to pour into him, learn more about his program, how he has things set up, how his athletes are taken care of, how we're supporting that endeavor. And then we can figure out as we move along what that might look like. But I'm impressed in my early conversations, and I'm looking forward to learning more. Especially meeting the players. You know, you learn a lot about these programs if you spend time around the players. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Let's be honest. If you're listening to us, the fan in Madison, a lot of you probably know this already. He already has a preconceived notion of Luke Fickell. Why do you think that is, Charlie?
Well, I mean, he hasn't been too successful here.
No, none of that. No, doesn't. No, none of that. No. Sean Eichhorst was Barry Alvarez's right-hand man for a number of years. You don't think that Barry Alvarez and Sean Eichhorst have had long conversations already about the state of this program, what needs to be done, the mistakes that were made, the direction that it has to be going forward? Of course. Barry Alvarez, King Barry, got one of his guys back into that chair again. They didn't go outside of the Barry Alvarez circle. They stayed in the Barry Alvarez circle. The last guy, well, first it was Barry, then it's Chris McIntosh, his guy. Now it's another one of his guys and Sean Eichhorst. Long live King Barry, baby. Barry's still running the show. Don't kid yourself on how this whole thing plays. All right, what's next? What's the next cut?
Next up, since he talked about football, let's talk about basketball a little bit. Sean Eichhorst discusses his relationship with Greg Gard and college basketball as a whole.
Well, Greg Gard's from Cobb, right? Ira Grant. And so I'm from Lone Rock, River Valley. So, you know, there's a little bit of familiarity. And of course the Platteville piece. And I've just been a sports nut. So when I was at Whitewater, I got to see Augie Vandermillen against Bo Ryan and Dick Bennett in Division III basketball. It was crazy, right? It was awesome. So Greg and I have a relationship. He's somebody that I gravitated to early on because of the way he thinks about analytics and some of the things that I think about relative to the game. And truth be told, when I had an opportunity to go to Miami, I spent a lot of time with Bo and Greg about what a coach would look like at a place like Miami. And we hit a home run with Jim Larinaga. And so Jim hit the highs. A lot of folks tried to move Jim, Final Four, mid-major, and we were able to get him in Coral Gables. And in year two, what did he do? He won the league, he won the tournament, and he went to the Sweet 16. And so learned a lot from Greg in that regard. I still have a lot of the same notes that we hammered out over at the main depot over a beer and a burger. So I have a great admiration for him. I've loved watching him grow.
Greg Gard's going nowhere. You can pencil him in. You can pencil him in for the basketball coach for a while. Those of you that don't like Greg Gard, you're screwed because he's not going anywhere either. Going back to that first clip, I'm assuming Luke Fickell knew it was King Barry already, but if you didn't, coach, and you're listening to us on the Fan of Madison, You better start kissing that ring if you want to stay in Madison. Just saying. What's next?
And between the two programs and the rest of Wisconsin sports, Sean, of course, thinks Wisconsin needs to get its swag back.
There's swag at Texas, right? There's 30 million people in Texas. And so, we got swag too, but we have a little humility with that deal. But we need to get our shoulders up, right? We need to feel good about what it is that we're doing. And gosh, if you can't feel good about this place and what we offer, I get it. We're judged by the left column and the right column. I mean, I get that. Our coaches get that, but this is a special place. And so the similarities, pretty much stop there. And then, we all do things distinctly different. But that opportunity to be immersed in that, the alignment of leadership, there's a great alignment in leadership, right? And that's really important on how you study and steer a university of this repute. And so those are the things that are special and the things that carry over here.
He also had another clip. I don't know if you have it or not, talking about the NIL and how he's going to go about it and using the educational aspect of it going forward. And I'm telling you that I am so 1,000,000% against that idea. I just am. And this is the same thing they were doing prior to Luke Fickell. You get the kids on the campus. Hey, let me show you where the business building is going to be and show you this. And it was about the education more than it was about the football or anything else. That's what they were emphasizing during the Barry years, the Brett Bielema years and that.
Well, and Barry's back in charge. If this is the case,
Yes.
like you're talking about, that means they're going to go backwards in all of this now.
But again, that's fine if you do. But NIL money was not a thing when Barry was here.
That's the problem.
Maybe guys were getting paid. I'm not going to say maybe guys weren't getting paid, but now it's just out there, and now it is all about the money.
More than what they were getting paid before.
Right, and they're spending money. You saw that on the portal. You're seeing it on recruiting. They're spending money. You aren't going to tell me that when you bring a kid to Texas that they're showing them the educational buildings at Texas before Sarkisian decides if he wants you or
Arch
not.
Manning's walking out there
Hell
shaking his hand.
No, there's no chance. So why are we going to do it here for?
Do you think they just feel like they have to pretend?
I don't know. I hope it's just lies. I hope that's not what we're going to do going forward. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. We got an either or for you coming up on the Green and Gold Update next.
Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Welcome into the 4 o'clock hour, abbreviated 4 o'clock hour. Only a half hour. Why? Because the Wisconsin Sports Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony is tonight for the 2026 class. Mason Crosby just went in, what was it, last year, I believe? 2 years ago? Last year, right? Last year. That was awesome. We got to go and be a part of that. That will be the last time I sit next to Mitch Nellis at any event for the rest of my life. But we were there. It was fun. Had a good time. I was like poking fun.
You eventually get it inducted in? Because I feel like the guy had like a broadcaster's wing and they should work on it or something.
I mean, Ernie Johnson went in that night.
There you go. Okay,
yeah.
So when Sparky eventually gets in, Mitch Thunder Nellis will be front row and he'll be cheering you on loud as he can.
I would have to talk to them. I don't think they've ever put any local sports talk radio host in. I don't believe that's ever happened.
Well, you could be the first. You could be a trendsetter, Sparky.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen. But it's fun to think of, though. It's fun to think of. That would be fun. So Tommy Wirtz and Mark Cass from Lemmy Sports, they're both going to be co-hosting the show coming up at 4:30. Names that very well may be on the show between 4:30 and 5:30 tonight that are going in will include Mark Murphy, former Packers president. You very well could hear him from 4:30 to 5:30 at the Marcus Center. Downtown. You could very well hear Brewers legend Ryan Braun. He is going in tonight as well, and he very well could be on the show tonight with Tommy and Mark Cass as well. And, of course, the rest of the 2026 class that is going in. So definitely want to hear that show. And then at 5:30 to 6:30, leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz down there at the Marcus Center, getting ready for Brewers Cardinals Game 4. Brewers already having sewn up the season series with the Cardinals already.
Earl Gillespie, inducted in 2001, was best known as the radio voice for the Milwaukee Braves.
Oh, radio voice of the Milwaukee Braves.
So there you go.
But that's not what we do.
Yeah, but it's close.
No, it's not.
It's close.
No, it's not. Like, if they put in Wayne Larrabee, it's like, okay, yeah, makes sense. Play-by-play guy, right? Okay, I understand that, right? Or if they put in Ted Davis, okay, fine, yep, okay, I understand that, right? We get down with that. Or Paschke goes in, okay, yes, absolutely support that. That makes a lot of sense. But sports talk people, no,
I think that counts, man.
No, I don't.
You and Tim Allen going in together.
Yeah. No, Tim would have a far better chance of getting in than I would, for sure, for how well and how successful his post-game show has been for after Brewers games. All right, it's 4 o'clock. Let's go to this.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Pfeiffer.
All right, so Charlie Usen, I tell you what, when you come do a meeting with Charlie Usen, get ready for a show, he always comes prepared, ready to roll with something. And green and gold update, if we're being honest, at this time of the year, it's a little bit of a struggle because there's really nothing current going on. So you're relying on other people, what they're writing and podcasts and stuff like that to kind of create content for when we talk Packers. But we said when we started the show a couple of years ago that we were going to try to do Packers, Bucks, and Brewers every single day on this show, at least one segment for every team. That was kind of the goal. Did we get away from that maybe a little bit in Packer season? Probably. But we're trying to get back to it here for the rest of the year. And Charlie, you came across a piece of audio that's entertaining.
I did. So if we head on over to the Peter Schrager podcast, or as he calls it, the Schrager Hour, he was talking with Jason McCourty over there, one of the McCourty brothers, and they were discussing about their breakout players for the 2026 season. Both of them picked NFC North wide receivers, but had different answers.
One player that you think is ready to make the quote-unquote leap in 2026 is who?
I'm going to go with Matthew Golden. I think you look at situation for him in Green Bay. I remember watching him come out, and I was like, damn, like this dude, stop, start, speed, all of the attributes that you want in a wide receiver, but gets drafted by Green Bay in a crowded room where there's not a ton of targets, not a ton of opportunities. Fast forward to now, you look at Dontavian Wicks, he's now on the Eagles. They also lost Romeo Dobbs, who's now on the New England Patriots. Now you got opportunities. But also, he's probably looking around the league like, I could have done this last year. I just didn't have those chances, but you're going to see me shine this year. So Matthew Golden would be my guy for a breakout year this year.
I'm also going wide receiver. I'm going with Luther Burden from the Chicago Bears.
Luther Burden. Okay, so let's have this conversation. I thought Charlie was going to play that a little bit longer. Let's have this conversation. They both took a receiver. One took the Packers receiver. One took the Bears receiver. My question to you is this. Which receiver would you take to be potentially that breakout player going into the season? Would you go with the Bears wide receiver, Luther Burden, where there's less options, if we're being fair, in that wide receiver room maybe over there? Or would you go with Matthew Golden, who, as was pointed out, has a couple less options because Dobbs and Wicks are now gone? Who would you go with as your breakout player of the year? Now, I understand we're going to be biased. We're Packer fans. I understand. We have Chicago Charlie over here. He might be biased as well. But I'm just kind of curious, like reasoning behind why you would take one over the other. Nicolay Law Talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. You can also hit us up on social media at WI Sports Radio on X, YouTube, and of course on the Instagram Live. And check us out on the Fan Milwaukee Facebook page too, as we stream live all day long here on Wisconsin Sports Daily. Charlie, what say you?
You guys are going to call me biased.
Not surprised by this.
Say that I'm just a fan of my favorite team. I think it's Luther Burden. I think Luther Burden, what he showed in the second half of the season last year, and I don't even think it was just him. I think it was just the way the Bears offense started to flow through him at certain points in the season, that you can expect him and Colson Loveland to come out in the beginning of this next year with that same kind of mentality, the Bears offense with that same kind of mentality. You've just seen that more consistently with that group, especially in the second half of the season last year. Matthew Golden, yes, you got about 2 games where he looked okay. The last game of the season where he dropped a few balls was kind of frustrating at points, but you saw him at least get the reps that you had been expecting him to get throughout the season. And the playoff game against the Bears, where he was a huge part of that offense and was part of the reason that they were able to stay in that game, had the huge touchdown play. That was awesome. And there's a lot of promise there, just like Jason McCourty was saying. At the same time, I think last year, despite it being a loaded wide receiver room, it was a room that I think should have been easy for somebody to kind of stand out in at the same time. And Christian Watson showed that was true, and Tucker Kraft showed that was true in the times that they were healthy on the field. And I think there were also moments where Matthew Golden could have stepped up as a number 2, as a number 3 wide receiver. And I know that we talk about it from the Packers coaching perspective, that they just didn't get him in those reps enough. But what was he doing to earn those reps too at the same time? And I keep hearing he's a super hard worker. He wants to get out there. But if he's not out there and he's working super hard, that tells me that there might be a certain ceiling that he's not reaching at this point. And that could be frustrating for his development moving forward here. Luther Burden's already touched the field and already gotten those significant snaps that I think is going to lead to that too. I also want to go to ESPN, where Ben Solak put out his breakout candidates for each team. For the Chicago Bears, he also puts Luther Burden III as his option there. That makes me a little more confident in that. For the Green Bay Packers, he says Anthony Belton is his breakout player.
That would be wonderful. An offensive lineman steps up and has a big year at right guard for the Packers, and Belton escalade. Yeah, I'd be all for that. Their ex-player, if I remember correctly, was Savion Williams, who there are some people on his deal. Now, remember, he was the other wide receiver taken in that draft with Matthew Golden. So those are 2 guys, both that probably will see significant more touches. I tend to obviously lean a little bit more towards Matthew Golden. However, regardless if you're a Packer fan or not, it's hard to argue against Charlie's logic of, look, we've seen it. We've seen him make big plays more consistently, obviously, than what you saw prior. They've moved on from DJ Moore as well there in Chicago. So it's itching for somebody to step up and go be that number 1 wide receiver. Now, who is that going to be? We're going to find out.
A dude that was really good in the first half and then was not existent in the second half.
And that's why I say it's up for grabs. It could be Burden. Burden could be the one. In Green Bay, however, providing health is in order, Christian Watson's going to be that guy. And then after Christian Watson, it's going to be Tucker Kraft. Like, those are your first two guys. Now, once you get past that, now you start talking about, okay, now Matthew Golden will get his targets. If you look at Chicago, Loveland obviously is going to be one of those main targets. And then whoever it is that's going to end up taking that one spot. Now, as a Packers fan, you hope neither one of them wants it. You hope they struggle and have their issues with Caleb Williams and getting on the same page, and defenses are haggling, and there's problems where it's Loveland and question mark. That's what you're hoping for. There is no question mark 1 and 2 for the Packers. You can say Tucker Kraft is 1, Watson's 2, or the other way around, but those two should and will lead the team in targets by the end of the year. Then it becomes who then is the next guy in line. You paid Jaden Reed already, and nobody really talks about Jaden Reed and the amount of catches he's going to get throughout the course of the year. People are just assuming Matthew Golden is going to be that next guy, and I don't know if that's locked in or not. Do I like Matthew Golden from the aspect of being a really good NFL player? I do. I thought it was a really good draft pick when they made it. I still think he's going to be really good. But as we've talked about in the past on this show, we don't know why it didn't work last year. And nobody really has explained why it didn't work. Was it route running? Was it lack of separation? Was it not running the right route? Not being on the same page as Jordan Love? Like, what is the reasoning for why he didn't see more balls? In Packers history, if you look back over the last 20 or so years, what do you find? You find that rookie receivers for the Green Bay Packers normally don't put up big numbers their first year. And then normally in year 2 and year 3 is normally when they take that next jump. A large amount of these guys take their jump in year 2, which this would be year 2 for Matthew Golden when you're looking for him to take that jump.
But the difference is this is a first-round guy, and a first-round guy that I think after a couple of years of waiting for guys to get to their second or third year to pan out when you've drafted them in the first round, whether it's wide receiver or any other position, you've had to wait for these guys to develop a lot more than you see some other teams who can get their rookies into their defenses or their offenses right away and their immediate impact players. And you can see the vision all right away. You haven't had that with the Packers draft classes in the first round over the past 5 or 6 years. I think watching Matthew Golden last season, knowing that they drafted him because they didn't feel confident enough in that wide receiver room, and knowing that they drafted him because they felt like he could be a weapon immediately, and then not seeing him turn into that throughout the season, that's extremely frustrating. And I think it has a lot of Packers fans on a shorter timeline for a player like that.
Timelines. Now that's an interesting one too, because the Bears timeline was moved along quickly last year. You get the new head coach in Ben Johnson. Caleb Williams finally takes a step. You know, he still wasn't very good, but he finally takes a step in the right direction. And now it's about expectations and what is the timeline in Chicago versus what the timeline is in Green Bay. Matt LaFleur's team has been in the playoffs 3 straight years. Caleb Williams cannot say that. Matt LaFleur's team has not won a division title in the last 3 years. Caleb Williams' team can say they have one. That is, to me, the biggest question on how this is all going to work. Is there a bigger sense of urgency to do bigger things in Green Bay than there is in Chicago? Well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because there's going to be less willing to be patient with a younger player if there's more of a pressing need to be really good this year than in the other organization where maybe there's not as high of expectations and you can wait it out maybe a little bit longer throughout the course of a season with a younger player that maybe isn't up to speed to where you want them to be. Where is there a bigger sense of urgency right now? I would guess it's in Green Bay, even though they just took care of LaFleur with the contract. I still think there's a bigger sense of urgency there than there is probably for the Hammond Bears.
Well, and I think that 18 teams, like I said yesterday, that I all see could be at least competitive if they stay healthy. That's such a wide open league, man. You got to take your opportunities when you have them. And if you feel like, again, these guys can be instant impact players, you got to use them that way. And if they're not, then that's a concern almost immediately to a lot of people.
So the debate is this from the Peter Schrager podcast: Matthew Golden or Luther Burden, who would you pick as your breakout player for 2026? Sherman and Racine, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily with me, Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. What's up, Sherman?
Hey, Spark, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Yeah, look, as I was telling Charlie, and you just touched on it. The way the Packers do things, just like the Brewers, they are a draft and develop team.
Yep.
They drafted Golden first time. We drafted a receiver in the first round in 20 years or whatever. And they didn't draft him to be the number one right now. They didn't need that, and that's evidence of where they put the money. They signed Watson, they signed Jaden Reed, they're going to sign Kraft, and Golden, we don't need him to do what the Bears need Luther Burden to do. Bears need Luther Burden to be the number one or step up this year. If he doesn't, they're going to have a problem. If Golden doesn't, the Packers going to be fine. It's like people forget how good a receiver Jaden Reed is. Had he not broke his collarbone last year, and I tell him what the Packers would have done. So, to answer the question, I think the Bears need Burden to step up more than the Packers need Golden to step up.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm with you. Thanks for the call, Sherman. Well said. Yeah, they definitely need him more than the Packers need Golden. As we talked about, there's a question about two in that room, I think, for offense. I think Loveland is the one. Odunze, they want to be the other guy.
It's a first-round pick.
Right.
Same deal.
But he disappeared in the second half last year. So I don't think that you're all that confident that he can do it for a full season. Burden caught a little bit of fire there in the second half of the year. Then the question became about Caleb Williams. Well, does he not like Romelu Odunze? Does he like Luther Burden better? Then it becomes that whole thing. And you can, laugh and be like, what does it matter who likes who? It matters a lot, dude.
Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown just broke down an entire relationship that has won Super Bowl before, and now all of a sudden it disappeared because they hated each other at the end, apparently.
Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson were teammates and roommates and drove to games and practices together. You think that didn't help chemistry for those two wanting each other to do well going forward? Of course it did. No question. So, yeah, man, it means everything. You want to be on the same page as your quarterback. And some of these guys, I don't want to hang out with my quarterback. Screw that, man. I'm going to go home and do my thing. I don't care what my quarterback thinks of me. Just throw me the ball if I'm open. Yeah, sometimes. And with certain quarterbacks, that still doesn't happen. Quarterback don't like you. It's may affect how many targets you get throughout the course of a season.
And I also think Caleb Williams at points was just opportunistic and just went to the guys that were hot, and whenever he could, he just found the open guys as much as possible, as quickly as possible, which is not very quick for him. It wasn't very often that he could always find those open guys.
Right.
But that's the type of talent that he has in the future. And I think if one of these wide receivers can step up, it's going to be a dangerous combo. I also think, though, with the Packers, that it can also be dangerous if the Packers are going to lean more into a pass-heavy approach, like a lot of people have been talking about, with or without Josh Jacobs. I don't really think it matters, that whole situation. They're going to have to pass more this upcoming season with the way that you've set up this wide receiver room. I think that also gives Matthew Golden a really good chance to build that relationship with Jordan Love and have a really dangerous duo between those two, too.
That's all people have been talking about. Let Jordan Love be the man. Let Jordan Love throw the ball more. I don't. I liked the pass-run split last year. I don't need to see it any different than it was. I think Charlie's right. I think that's what's going to happen. The split is going to be different. And you can argue that they're trying to preserve Jacobs for the postseason to keep him as fresh as possible. And that would make a lot of sense if that's the deal. Hey, are you looking for a college where you can excel in the classroom and on the field? At Bryant Stratton College's Wauwatosa campus, you can compete in the NJCAA Division II athletics with more than 20 men's and women's teams to choose from. Keep playing the sport that you love while earning your associate degree in business, healthcare, criminal justice, or digital marketing. Athletic scholarships are available for those who qualify. Visit BryantStratton.edu and discover how Bryant Stratton College is built different for you. Again, this is a junior college. That's why it's an associate's degree. You go here for a couple of years, and then if you play well and you do well in your sport, then maybe you have the potential to then go to a Division I. They're putting JUCO players in from basketball, Bryant Stratton, up into Division I. They're doing the same thing for baseball players up into Division I. That track record is a building across the board for Bryant Stratton sports right now. And track and field is the one where they're really talking about, they're really looking for some athletes right now. So if you're in Wausau, if you're in Duluth Superior, if you're in Green Bay or Appleton, or if you're in Madison, listening to us across the state on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, and you are listening to me and you're like, hey, man, like I'm in my senior year right now and I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I was good enough, but I'm just not getting the offers or whatever else. Reach out to Bryan and Stratton. Talk to their coaches. See maybe if there's something there for you at Bryan and Stratton. And again, remember, they have scholarship money. There's scholarship money at Bryan and Stratton to be had. So that's the other big part about this. Again, check them out. BryanStratton.edu. Things that Sparky missed coming up next. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here.